Good morning from Indianapolis, Indiana. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this morning. My name is Kelly Sumner. I am the Director of International Admissions here at IU Indianapolis, and I am very excited this morning to be here with you all and with our amazing guest speaker, Dr. Fawzi Ben Messaoud. He is a professor in our Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering, and he is the AI program director. And he's going to be giving a talk this morning telling you all about artificial intelligence, applications of artificial intelligence, what kinds of careers you could potentially get if you study artificial intelligence, and probably all kinds of exciting things. I'm actually really looking forward to learning from him this morning, and I hope you all are as well. So before we get started, just a couple of brief housekeeping items. I want to make sure to let everybody know the agenda for the webinar. So as I mentioned, Dr. Ben Messaoud will give a talk first. During his presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat. We will be able to see the chat as the presentation goes along. Myself and also a colleague who is on the back end will monitor the chat. We're going to bookmark the questions that you have for Dr. Ben Messaoud so that he can come back and answer those at the end, unless it's a quick question that we can maybe answer in the chat. So we'll answer questions both ways, either in the chat during the presentation, or we'll save them for the Q&A session at the end. After Dr. Ben Messaoud finishes his presentation, I'll also just do a quick overview of Indiana University, Indianapolis, about our campus, about the admissions process, if you're considering applying as an undergraduate or even as a graduate student. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. And then, like I said, we'll make sure we save time at the end for questions and answers. One last note, for those of you who registered in advance for this webinar, keep an eye on your email. Within the next couple of days, you will get a certificate of participation sent to the email that you used to register for the webinar. So that should be coming, like I said, within the next couple of days. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to Dr. Ben Messaoud for volunteering to give this presentation today. Like I said, I'm very excited. I know our viewers are as well. In the chat, if you want to drop where you're viewing from, sometimes it's kind of cool to see. I'm guessing that we probably have folks joining us from all around the world. So feel free to drop that in the chat. And then, like I said, any questions that you have along the way can go in there as well. So on behalf of my office and Indiana University, Indianapolis, I'm going to pass the mic over to you. Dr. Ben Messaoud, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you, Kelly, and I'm glad I'm invited to share some thoughts here on AI. And good morning, everybody. We're going to get started, but first, let's first ask the question: why are we talking about AI application? And because this AI hype, AI is everywhere. Okay, there's right now talks of the AI is pretty much like we heard from the Wall Street Journal saying, the AI doctor will see you, or AI is going to be machine is going to replace a lot of jobs, or you hear, the thought or even the people are scared that AI and AI application is going to be pretty much taken over at some point, etc. So this is nothing new, I would say, because AI has existed for a very, very long time. I'm going to start first by sharing with you. It's actually a song that I wrote about AI in singularity, and then we'll get started with the rest of this presentation. So let me.
I don't think we can hear the audio. You might have to reshare and click that special audio button.
Okay. It's a little technical thing here.
If I remember correctly, if you share a Chrome window, then it'll give you like a little box to check that says share the
Yes.
audio, and then that should work. Trust me, everybody, it's worth a brief delay. We'll get it.
And all there is, and all that will ever be. It's all, it's all in the data, and so it shall be. We don't know that we don't know, but just know that it's true. The secret of the universe is all in ones and zeros. Human greed blinds us all from knowledge we do not see. Super, super rich in data, yet so poor in intel. An ocean and oceans of data, there's still little inside. An ocean and oceans of data, there's still little inside. Human intelligence will be no more, replaced by singularity. Computing all the ones and zeros soon will set us free. Surely AI will help us all. It could spell our doom. Doom, doom, doomsday with all the rising machine. Doom, doom, doomsday with all the rising machine. AI is all in the data, and so it will be. AI is all ones and zeros, and so it will be. AI, ML, DL, NLP. Our past, in our present, in our future is all in technology, but the future of AI and technology is all entire existence. Singularity soon will come to pass. Singularity soon will come to pass.
All right. Now we go back to sharing my screen. Okay. So
I can't see you anymore. I'm not sure what happened to your camera. Your your window's black. There we go.
there we go.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Right.
sharing that song, by the way. That was cool. I think
Oh,
you should get an award for the first faculty member to perform a song in one of our webinars. Nicely
well,
done.
absolutely. This is the best way. I wanted to set the stage, and hopefully that didn't scare you about, say, AI be actually helping us or being our doom. But that's basically a fundamental question that we're being asking today because of the difference in AI today. So, first of all, what is AI? For some, AI is pretty much like most people think of AI as robotic. Or if you ask anybody, they will tell you that AI is a computer science field that's to mimic or to simulate a human thinking. The truth is, AI is, or at least what I consider modern AI, it's about anything that's a man-made or man-designed, human design technology for that is about thinking power to process information, either to reason or to solve problems, or, for example, in some cases, even make decision or perform tasks. Now, As you all know, we live in a world where everything is, extreme connectedness. Anything that is connected is has already been connected, or is will be connected at some point. And also the fact that we have extreme automation, using AI and AI bots to automate, and now we're even automating things in the cloud, etc. But we're seeing AI ops, taking in AI ops and information communication technology system, more and more driven by AI and cognitive computing. So what that means, this is why it's so important right now, or AI has become so important, and this is why we're seeing a big hype in AI. If we go back in history, like I said, AI is not something new. It goes back to all the way in 1950, perhaps even before that, when Alan Turing first came out with the first test of that referred to as Alan Turing, which is to basically, okay, does is this a test of a machine becoming starting to think like a human? And fast forward to 1971, where we had more development, or not in the 70s, we have in the 80s, where we have more development in AI, but it's still more focused basically on one application or a couple applications that were actually generally more focused, or focused the use of AI. That's robotics and decision support system, and fuzzy logic, and neural network. And then moving forward to where AI became, particularly, in the 90s, where we're seeing more and more institutions or a larger company getting into AI and coming out with their own AI, or start to work on their own AI models and their own AI structures. Um, so what does that mean? That in from a main evolution, that was pretty much like the past, present, and future. Where we are today is we are at the point where we have, and there's so much focus on learning, because it is for the machine or for AI, it's all about learning, but so it is for humans. So you can pretty much say that it's all about learning. In machine learning, not to dwell on some of the details here, okay, we started with supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and deep learning. But what is where we find ourselves moving toward right now, and this is pretty much still unknown to a lot of people, but for some people, that's the unknown that scares them, is that we're moving into another level of learning, which is synthetic learning, or basically, I call it infinite, or I've been calling it infinite learning, which is more about recursive, and it's also more about what you would call actually infinite learning in, or infinite loops in learning. Now, application of AI, as I said, we went from expert in autonomous systems to robotics and fuzzy logic and neural networks. Today, we're seeing a whole lot more, or better, much better development when it comes to natural language processing, or natural language understanding, natural language generating, speech recognition, or computer vision. And what you see missing out of this application is again at the heart of modern, what I call modern AI, and thus generative pre-trained transformers, or some people call them GPT, short for that, in large language models. Now, what's so significant about that? Okay, is because if we think about the growth of computing or processing, particularly between us, the difference between us and the difference between the machine, or in this case AI. You see, exponential, meaning, like, if we look at the generative AI right now, it's pretty much it's probably, I would call it still infant, or still at that very early stage. But as we know, with most technology, if not all technology, it's a very sharp rise. So imagine, which means that with exponential growth in computing, that puts that little guy there way out of the chart. So even if we combine, at some point, even if we combine all the human brains on the planet, we're not going to be even close to the ability or the exponential growth of computing of the machines or of the AI that we create. Now, the current state of AI is all about applied AI. And that's basically meaning the use of AI concept, or use of AI techniques for a specific purpose. For example, use of computer vision and natural language processing in like a project I'll talk about here shortly in my classes to give a voice to a mute, for example, or the use of machine learning, deep learning. So you can have, for example, full automation, or you can have robotic process automation, which is also an application of AI that uses several tools in AI. And of course, now we're seeing the rise of generative pre-trained transformers and using the large language models. Now, why it's so significant about this, and why I said the hype about AI is not just a hype, but it's definitely here to stay. Because if we look at what is needed for today's jobs, and definitely for future jobs, or all the jobs that that will be created and are being created, is AI competencies. In AI competencies, this is based on some research that was done looking at what are the competencies for an AI world that we found ourselves in. I can pretty much summarize it in three things, and that's intelligent design. And intelligent design was basically meaning working in creatively designing either AI, or working with AI to design something. The same thing when we talk about intelligent human skills, where intelligent human skills, that's basically like designing the social environment using AI or AI tools. And finally, the other skill, I would summarize it in intelligent data skills. And intelligent data skills is again either working on AI or working with AI, for example, to create analytics, or to create decision competence, or to create, for example, things that evolve around different aspects in industry, whether it's education, or whether it's manufacturing, whether it's healthcare, and so on. So that this is what, to me, what makes AI competencies important, and why I think the AI also should be taught, and taught a certain way in schools and so on. Now, it's if we look at also the current state of AI in terms of application or applied AI, you'll find like you can pretty much summarize it all in three things. It's either about we're trying to create more insights, and that's using machine learning and deep learning techniques, so we can pretty much harness the power of the data, so we can either predict, or we can look at different trends and look at different patterns. Uh, in this case, think, for example, AI analytics. The second main application is user experience. And that's basically, again, using different AI tools or AI technologies like natural language processing, or generating or understanding techniques, or even combining that with computer vision. So you can provide, for example, a richer user experience. Take, for example, patients and doctors. Now, all of a sudden, you have both patient and doctors using AI, so they can both have a better experience with they're doing, with whatever they're doing, or whatever other technology that you're using in the process of a doctor trying to heal a patient, and so forth. And finally, automation, which is, again, this is about using intelligent process automation, or robotic process automation. And so we can automate things. We can automate things from end to end, which means that we can then create a digital workforce, or we can have an entire enterprise using robotic process automation to literally X number their production, which multiply their productivity by an X number. So instead of just one person, you can multiply it by thousands, and maybe even more. Some examples that I use in my classes, for example, take AI ops, and how AI ops, again, can be used in a real world example. Okay, like this is actually one project that I've been assigning to one of my AI classes for some times now. It's been a few years, which is to combine, for example, computer vision, natural language processing, and machine learning. So you have, for example, someone that is not that cannot hear or speak, uh, go through the process of using, again, these three tools, or three main application of AI, so then they can speak, and anybody else can communicate with them. And that's, again, by having computer vision identify the sign language, and also by having machine learning the sign language. And from a communication, at that point, it does not matter what language the person can speak, because with natural language processing, then the translation of the language comes across to the person that's talking to the mute, just like the sign language comes across to the person that is mute. Now, we all know that we live in a world that's completely interconnected and connected. Okay. Take, for example, let's say we have people that are working uh, let's say, an agricultural product. And in this case, I'll pick wheat. Okay. And they're working on the DNA of, making wheat, for example, grow better, grow safer, and grow more of it, etc. No, they're dealing with the researchers. They're dealing with they pull in information from the internet and so forth. Now, and then they are going to be sending that information, or whatever they're working on is being used by Ukraine. That's one of the largest producer of wheat. And then, of course, Ukraine is shipping their wheat to many countries in Africa, but they're also shipping to many other countries in Europe. Let's say they ship it to France, and in France they use that to create flours and to bake macarons and send them to you. Now, imagine, for example, this one person that's working on this project in China, relying on information from these researchers, or relying on information that comes from the internet. There's too much room for errors. Now, if you take AI and you apply AI to that, this person now is pretty much going to get their information, because by automating that process that this person followed to create this genetic or to genetically make wheat growing much better, you're not going to have that problem. You're not going to have the problem with where a mistake is made by someone that this person was talking to, or by pulling some information from the web that was incorrect, and so forth. Uh, take, for example, robotic process automation here at on campus at IUPUI, or at Indiana University now. Uh, by using automation, we can pretty much, for example, make the process of students going through financial aid much easier, because that's linking different systems, and between admission, between recruiting and advising, and between all the other things that comes from the different system that allows the entire financial process to flow. Another good example, which I'm not going to spend much time on this, would be like using robotic process automation, like to automate an entire enterprise, or what enterprise does, because every enterprise they're using so many different technology, they're using so many different system, from an email system to a customer relationship management system, to an enterprise system, to other systems that have that may be financial system, and so forth. So combining and having bots that actually communicate with other bots in the process of automation will give that organization, or give that enterprise, a very good way of automating their workflows, their processes from end to end. Now, myself, for example, I've been trying to use AI as an application to create what I call an OK and HIP FASBot. In this case, the OK and HIP stands for organizational, knowledgeable, empathetic, and approachable, humorist, or instructionalist, and patient. And these are basically the good traits of a teacher, or the good traits of a faculty or an instructor. Now, for some people, that's not quite possible, because you can't teach AI empathy, or you can't teach AI to be a humor, etc. That is no longer the case, because with infinite learning, we can pretty much teach, for example, an AI assistant to be humorous. Imagine giving this AI assistant a million responses that are about humor. So at some point, they're going to sound humorous, right? Because even humans, many of us, or most of us, are not born with a humorous sense. We actually learn humor by going to comedy shows, or we learn humor by reading jokes, or listening to jokes, etc. The same thing with empathy. Okay. With infinite learning and AI assistant, in this case, what I'm hoping that my fastbot will learn also to be empathetic. So I'm going to share
Hi,
with you
I'm
an example.
Fazbot assisting Professor Ben Messaoud.
I'm going to share with you actually the first, this is prior to GPT, working in having my AI assistant assist my students. And this is an example of an interface between my students and my AI assistant. So let's listen.
Hello there, Professor Ben Messaoud. Hi, I'm Fazbot assisting Professor Ben Messaoud. So what can I help you with?
I missed class this week and an assignment, and I really need help.
Happy to assist. Which assignment you need help with?
Your virtual assistant.
I have sent the description for the assignment video bot project number 2, your virtual assistant, to your email. Do you have any questions regarding this assignment?
No thanks.
Is there anything else you need assistance with?
I've been struggling to prepare for one of my exams.
Oh yeah, exams. There are 2 exams in this course. Tell me which exam you want to ask about.
Exam number 2.
Okay, exam 2 covers the conversation-driven design covered in chapter 2 and 3. Follow the exam instructions in Canvas to complete and submit the following deliverables. 1. Submit your chatbot entity relationship diagram. 2. Submit your data table.
So basically,
3.
my AI assistant
Submit
is
some
pulling the
screen captures of your
information
chatbot
from
in
our
action.
learning
A
management
link to
system,
exam 2 has been sent to
and
your email.
that makes him
Is there anything else
available
you need assistance
24/7
with?
to answer these questions.
Man, I feel like I'm gonna bomb this thing.
Whenever you find yourself doubting how far you can go, just remember how far you have come. I have curated a list of study guides to help prepare you for this exam, so don't worry. You got this. Is there anything else you need assistance with?
So that
What's
is
it like to
actually
be
a
an
form
AI?
of empathy. That again,
It's a lot of work, but it's
having
rewarding.
infinite
You have
learning,
to be very
this AI
disciplined in order
system
to
is
make
going
the
to
best of it.
learn to respond with empathy. So let's
Hello there,
take a look
Professor
at
Ben Messaoud. What may I assist you with?
next interface.
I need to contact one of my students about their missing coursework.
Okay. Which student do you want to contact?
Carson.
Professor, you have 2 students with the name Carson. Which one would you like to contact?
Carson Stanfield.
What do you want the email subject to say?
Missing exam.
Miss an exam is the subject of the email. What do you want to say in your email?
Missing exam. To notice you missed exam 2, you need to contact me as soon as possible so I can help you make up.
Just to confirm, your email to Carson Stanfield will state miss an exam to notice you miss exam 2 and either contact me as soon as possible so I can help you make up. Do you wish to send this now?
So my grammar
Yes.
is not great, and it repeated exactly what I
Email has
said.
been
So
sent.
it could
Is
also
there anything else
correct
you need
my grammar
assistance
in the
with?
future.
I need to schedule a meeting with one of my students.
So the idea here is also that to have
Okay.
this AI
Which
system
student do you want to set
available
up a
to
meeting?
help me as a faculty, and that's
Angela
another
Williams.
use of an AI application, which
What
then I
date and
don't have
time
to
would you like to
respond
meet
to
with
so
Angela
many
Williams?
students that have the same question,
February 12th.
where I can automate that,
At 5 p.m. in IT 103.
or schedule, for example,
Just to confirm, you're requesting to meet
meetings
with
with my
Angela
students and
Williams
so
on
forth.
February 12th at 5 p.m. in at 103. Do you wish to send this now?
Yes.
A meeting event is logged in your calendar and an email has been sent to Angela Williams.
All right, here's another example that I think, you might find this example a little bit funny in the sense, like, let's say, suppose I have this Fifi robot at home, which now it's as an application of AI, it's learning to be my assistant at home, and it's guaranteeing me that's going to take care of my children while I'm gone to work. Okay, so let's say at some point my 2 kids are so hungry, and they're starting to whine and cry, and they want to eat, and then Fifi here looks in the refrigerator and finds nothing; it's empty. And now Fifi is thinking like, hey, well, I've got to find some of the food, and looks around and and see my pet, the cat, and thinks, okay, well, that could be food. And what Fifi does then is literally, uh, yeah, feed my cat to my children. My children eat it and love it because they think it tastes like chicken. Now, this is where we think also, this is where, again, an AI application can go wrong. In this case, of course, Fifi is going to be arrested, or do we arrest Fifi and throw her in jail, or do we destroy Fifi or myself? If that was the case, I'll come home. I'll definitely, try to destroy Fifi myself. Now, here the question again that we're asking ourselves, we find ourselves in this era right now, is the implication of this infinite learning with recursive learning, etc. And where is this leading us to? Because there are basically 2 types of AI: the neural AI, which is what we have right now, But there's also the generative AI that everybody is racing to create, and then the application for generative AI can be very, very open, and some of them are even would be unpredictable to us at this point, because generative AI is, of course, where we create that super intelligence because of this synthetic recursive learning that we're talking about. So with that, I'm gonna actually I'd like to share with you just a little bit about going to school and pursuing an AI degree such as what we have here at Indiana University, and then the type of jobs. And I'll just play this short video for you.
So, how should we define AI? I'll look at the two words that make up AI: artificial and intelligence. Artificial, of course, is about everything that is human made and designed, whereas, of course, intelligence is the notion of our brain, human thinking power to process information. The degree that we're offering at the School of Informatics is a Bachelor of Art in Artificial Intelligence. And this degree is focused on the actual in AI and informatics. We ask how the smart machine can make us smarter so we can do more and achieve more. So some of the jobs that this degree will lead to, for example, a business and automation analyst, it could be an RPI, and robotic process automation specialist, or it could be an ML/DL developer, machine learning, deep learning developer. Or it could be a machine learning or also a data developer. It could be an AI assistant developer, or it could be a bot ideation, for that matter, developer or designer.
No, so just briefly about our AI degree, and again, there's a focus here from an instructional focus. It's all about AI solution applications, but it's also about the use of AI in enterprise intelligence, and we also touch on AI in the human interaction, because as you know, okay, AI's got the what some people refer to as the dark side of AI, whether it's bias in AI or the trust and confidence or explaining AI or unexplained AI and so forth. But it's also about AI design and development, and that's touching on all the different AI tools and AI applications, such as building AI agent or using natural language and deep learning, machine learning, and so forth. Now, we also have recently here started, not recently, it's been a few years, but a certificate in AI, which allowing them having actually focused again on creating cognitive bots and creating, for example, cognitive bots that are fit for an entire enterprise. And what I think is significant about this certificate is the fact that pretty much built additional certificate into it, such as, for example, an AI assistant developer from Raza, or an Automation Anywhere certificate, an RPI certificate, or an AWS certificate in machine learning. So the idea here, again, if, as we think about AI programs, I think we also need to consider the application of AI in the real world. And one thing that we're trying to do is then to combine the real world application with how things are best done in the real world through industry, and also in this case, that is what I professional and industry alignment certification is something that we are considering very important, and we're embedding or integrating that into our courses, such as the example in the AI certificate here. So with that, I'm just gonna stop rambling there and move on to questions or thoughts from your part.
Thank you so much. That was fantastic. So we do have a couple of questions in the chat. So I will go back to those. So both of them actually came from Syed, who I think told us he was joining from the UAE. So it's probably Friday night there for Syed. The first question he asked was if you could just briefly explain machine learning, deep learning, and neural network.
Okay. Yeah, so machine learning is very much like the deep learning is a subset of machine learning, with deep learning, we get into literally very involved neural networks using billions of neurons. Whereas with machine learning, so you have that's pretty much where with deep learning we then you can have what I'm talking about here, like synthetic learning taking place, or you can have pretty much recursive learning with deep learning. Whereas with machine learning, it's not. It's a general term, and that involves supervised learning, which is basically using structured, in most cases, using structured learning. Now, the main where I said like the main difference here is that with deep learning, we're moving into, uh, for example, the use of pre-trained transformers. Okay, with unsupervised learning, where unsupervised learning, at some point, we actually and you take the example of the chat gpt or some of the other gpt, it's almost that's the learning that happens in a black box, or what some people refer to as a black box, meaning we don't know how that learning is taking place, because at that point it's okay, we know mostly it's about prediction or predictability and probability, but how actually these neurons, it's almost like looking at neurons in the brain and trying to understand how these neurons are working. That is basically what's happening with the deep learning.
Thank you. And then Syed had another question, I think related to that bot that you shared, the one that was helping the student and was also helping you as the professor. So he asked, how did you build it? Did you utilize different existing AI models using API keys, or did you make a custom knowledge-based AI? What applications did you use? So he's just asking for kind of a brief description of how you created that.
Well, definitely. So that's the first prototype, by the way. That was before GPTs. Okay, we built it using the existing model, but we did actually. I did add an API to the learning management system, so that way I'm using. So that assistant is answering question that comes from what I post in the LMS, in this case in Canvas, as far as my lecture notes, my presentations, the assignments, and etc. And that's the purpose for using the API with LMS. Now, the next version that we're basically right now testing is to actually add generative AI to that. So in this case, then combining generative AI with our existing AI assistant is going to allow us to literally have more power as far as generating answers for the students, or even doing more for me, assisting me as a faculty.
Thanks. That's so fascinating. We did have just one more question that came through the chat. Anybody else that has questions, please feel free to type them in the chat and we will get them answered. The question that just came through asks, what are some of the career options in AI? I think that video talked about those briefly, but maybe if you could touch on some of the ones, or if you can think of examples maybe of like recent graduates or students that you know that have gone out into the field, like what kinds of careers are they pursuing?
Okay. There's actually a very wide range for careers in AI, depending on what you focus on or what you will basically be pursuing as a degree. So, take for example the computer and engineering, or the computer science of it, that deals with, for example, that type of a career job is about working in creating machine learning models, or creating, for example, you may be at some point, part of a group that's working on the next generation of large models, or or improving how AI process information or process data. Whereas, for example, another type of degree that focuses on the use of GPT, or applying GPT, like in certain industry, to automate that. For example, using something that I'm doing in my class right now, or I'm doing in what I'm in many of my classes, trying to automate a lot of things that I do with my classes, such as, yeah, combining robotic process automation, or until I would call intelligent process automation. So, for example, I can have my AI assistant help me design an entire activity, and also automate the feedback from my students based on that interaction. Now, other careers may be in UX, UI, in actual design, which is basically working on what's the best way, or what are the different technology to be integrated using different AI applications such as natural language processing, so the user will have a better experience, like interfacing with a site, for example, or interfacing with a piece of technology that may be even as simple as a TV. Imagine right now we interface with smart TV, but smart TV means that they're getting more and more artificial intelligence added to them. So in order to, and some of that interface is actually, I find it sometimes frustrating. Why? Is because the design of that interface was not very well, or was not very intelligent design. So the type of jobs there is, so you see it's taken into account a human use of technology, and the best way for humans to use that technology in terms of UX and UI, or in terms of UX, basically user experience, and then user interface. So you have these type of jobs, but you also have other jobs that touch on the implication of AI, and or the ethics of AI, such as looking at ways that we can detect unintended consequences of a technology that's being built that's going to use AI. And that, of course, has to do with, at this point, you don't have to be a coder, or you don't have to be a machine learning specialist, etc., to still have that type of AI job, because you're working with engineers, but you're also working with legal and compliance, or people that understand the legal system, and then you're helping that entire put everything together, so this application is not going to be lead to unintended consequences that are going to harm some humans or benefit some, versus not benefiting others or harming others.
Well, and maybe the next question kind of leads off of that one a little bit. So Saeed asked, what are your opinions about AI replacing humans? Do you think AI could possibly replace humans in every field? And should we create an ethical restriction for AI development as a precautionary measure?
That is a very interesting question, and I would say this is exactly where, like I said, myself, I started a long time ago, and it was back in 1984 when I started in AI robotics, and that I left that field until a few years ago. I came back because what changed is that the modern AI, which means, again, I'm not talking here about machine and deep learning. I'm talking about infinite learning, and then with infinite learning, there are consequences, and that is a valid question, or a valid concern. I do have that valid concern myself, but I would say, okay, let's not fear that. Let's not fear, AI becoming, aware, or fear the general artificial intelligence. In this case, let's learn how we can use infinite learning from AI now, so we can improve our own learning, because it's all about learning, and intelligence begets more intelligence. So if we learn from the infinite learning of AI, how we can conquer and what inhibits our own learning, or what limits our own learning, which is basically our human factors, or the environments that we live in, and mainly our biochemical nature in time, because we age, or we only have a certain actually time in learning. So I would say, yeah, instead of fearing it, because it is a valid concern, I think we should jump on, literally use the infinite learning from AI to help us conquer what inhibits our own learning, so at least we can be ready if that does ever happen. And it is possible that that will happen.
Excellent. One other question came through. I think we'll do this one, and then I'll switch and do just a real quick admissions overview, but then we can come back if more questions come in for you. So these questions are fascinating to me as well. The next question was from Chitra. Are there online tools that can be accessed to use AI for our current work? I am focusing on food label compliance to regulations in different countries. And then, and then it says, like AI for dummies. Do you have any suggestions for maybe how they could use AI tools on food label compliance to
Yeah, well,
regulations? How
yeah,
fascinating. I think this is a good example of how you can apply AI in pretty much every industry, every kind of research project, every discipline. It just crosses over everything.
oh, absolutely. And that's what we're saying. AI is in everywhere, and AI is going to be in everything. Uh, Now, my short answer to that, if you just Google the top AI tools, you'll be amazed at how many AI tools are available right now that you can use aside from generative AI, because you do have some GPTs that you could use exactly for that. But there are so many other tools that you can combine, and it doesn't mean that you use only one tool to meet your goal. In this case, I would look at combining different tools such as a GPT with another with another plugin, for example, or with another combine it with another AI tool, will definitely get you to your goal.
Fantastic. Like I said, I'm going to pause there and we're going to switch gears just a little bit, although we can switch back and talk more about AI here in a second. I'm going to um, share my screen. I
Stop
think, yep,
sharing.
if you can stop sharing, perfect. And I'm going to try to do this very briefly because I know we only have about 10 minutes left. Um, so I'm just going to quickly talk a little bit about Indiana University, Indianapolis. Hopefully some of those of you on the call are potentially interested in applying and coming to study here, whether you want to do a degree in AI or any of our other programs. I'll just give you a quick overview. So Indiana University, Indianapolis is a large public research institution. We have about 30,000 students. That's both undergraduate and graduate students. We feel very happy that 7.4% of our student population are international students from over 100 countries. Even though we're a large institution, I still think we do a really good job of keeping our class sizes fairly small. We have a 13-to-1 student to faculty ratio, and about 75% of our classes on campus have less than 30 students. So if you come to study here, you might have some classes that are large lecture style classes with 50 or 100 students, but most of your classes will be smaller size classes. We have top programs in STEM. Obviously, those of you who chose to come today wanted to learn about some of our STEM programs that we offer through the Luddy School of Informatics, Computing, and Engineering. We're also really well known for health sciences. We also have an excellent business school. The Kelley School of Business is one of the top business schools in the U.S. We also have the only dental school in the state of Indiana, the U.S.'s largest nursing school and medical school. And we have a lot of really cool tech-related research going on our campus. We're the home to the Biohealth Informatics Research Center, the Integrative AI Institute, which maybe Dr. Fawzi can tell us more about that if anybody has questions, and a lot of really cool stuff going on. The fact that we have a lot of research, health science related research, I think that there's probably also a lot of overlap there for somebody who wanted to come and study AI and the applications that you might be able to find in those kinds of spaces as well. Just really quickly, a few more numbers. I'll highlight 88% of our graduates from the Luddy School are employed in their field. So some really great outcomes there. Obviously, we just need more and more folks in these STEM fields. So that is definitely a great option. And then Indianapolis is number 4 for high-tech job growth out of all the cities in the US. So again, another reason to come and study specifically here at IU Indianapolis. We do offer lots of excellent student services for our international student population. So when you come here, not only are you going to have an excellent academic experience, but you're going to have lots of support from our office. We have welcome services and orientation. We have a really fantastic peer mentoring program where new students are matched up with current students to kind of help them become acclimated, get connected to all the different activities and resources on campus and also off campus to get connected to the community, get connected to Indianapolis, and experience all there is here in the city as well. And I think that's one of the main attractions of studying at IU Indianapolis is the fact that we are located downtown in the city of Indianapolis. You can see this lovely picture of campus here on the screen. And one of our peer mentors just put a quote about how much she enjoys the diversity of Indianapolis. So the diversity on campus, but also being in a big city and having access to so many different people from different backgrounds and also just all the different resources in the city is a great opportunities for students when they come and study here. Indianapolis is known as the Crossroads of America. It's called that because we have the most interstates going through our city of any other city in the US. So that's kind of interesting. It is the capital city and the economic center of the state of Indiana. So a lot of great opportunities for things like internships and for finding jobs after you graduate as well. We have a lot of sports, a lot of other activities and things going on in our city. So in addition to academics, you can experience all the other fabulous things that we have to offer. We do experience all 4 North American seasons. We're like in the middle part of the US. So it gets hot in the summer, but it does get cold and snow in the winter. So if you're looking for an experience like that, we can definitely offer that. Not too many of the extremes, but we definitely get a wide variety of weather here. The total cost of attendance for an undergraduate student for 1 year is about $52,000. That includes tuition, room and board, all of those things. In terms of the application deadlines, we accept applications for both a fall or August intake and a spring January intake. The absolute deadline for fall is not until May 1st. But we do recommend that students apply earlier in the cycle so that you have access to the best scholarships. So we do offer merit-based scholarships to incoming first-year international students that range from $5,000 to $10,000 per year. Those are awarded automatically upon admission, so you don't have to do anything special to be considered for those awards. You just apply, submit your high school grades, your proof of English proficiency, and then we will automatically consider you for one of those scholarships as long as you apply for admission by February 15th. So that's the deadline for the scholarships. We do also have additional scholarships that are available from certain schools and departments. So potentially, depending on your major, you might be able to apply for additional scholarships. We also have scholarships offered through our honors college. So those are our most competitive scholarships, but they are also our biggest scholarships. So to be considered for those, you have to be admitted probably by around the middle of December, or have your application submitted rather by the middle of December, kind of at the latest. Because you have to be admitted and also apply to the Honors College scholarships by February 15th. So you want to make sure you give yourself plenty of time for that. Those scholarships range from $19,000 per year all the way up to full tuition plus a stipend for housing. So like I said, they're pretty big scholarships. They are competitive, but definitely we let students know if you qualify for those, then we'll send you the steps to apply for the additional scholarships. So like I said, just really quickly, if you're interested in applying during your final year of high school, the application opens on August 1st. You can either apply through the Common App or you can use the application that's on our website called Apply IU. You're going to send your transcripts, your high school grades, exam scores, English proficiency. We do not require SAT or ACT scores. Those are completely optional. Do not have to submit those if you don't want to or don't have them. And that's what we use to determine your admission. After you're admitted, we will also ask you for financial documentation, including bank statements and then a support form for issuing your I-20, which is what you need to get the student visa to come and study in the US. So the admission is the first 3 items on the screen, and then the financial documentation comes after that. So that's the really quick overview of IU Indianapolis and the admissions process. On the screen, this QR code will take you to our link tree. So there's some other like important web pages and information available on there, along with our social media links. But then you can also email my team directly at iapply@iu.edu. Any questions that you have about applying to IU Indianapolis, feel free to follow up with us there and we can answer your questions, walk you through the process step by step. Anything you need, we can help you out there. So with that being said, I am going to, I'll leave that on the screen for just a minute in case people are taking a picture of that QR code or maybe noting that email address. But I'm going to pop back over to the chat as well. So it looks like there's a couple of other questions that have come through. So we've got a question, Dr. Fawzi, if I want to develop an artificial intelligence writing assessor application, what would be the easiest way I could make that? I don't know how hard or easy of a question that is to answer.
Yeah, that is actually a tough question to answer because there's so many variables there and so many different technology that are involved in something like that. But I would say a good start. Uh, I would ask one of the GPTs, in this case, maybe a Chat GPT may actually, Jet 4 that is, may actually give you some start. But
So
it,
you can
but
ask the artificial intelligence to help you create an artificial intelligence to do something else.
yeah, and absolutely, and I mean, um, in the short amount of time that we have right here, for me actually to answer that question in more details, I'm going to ask you several questions. I will need to know more information from you in order to answer that question more specifically. But like I said, generally, I think start with the research. So research what is involved in that, and then what are the different tools that can be. What do you need to combine in this case for that application? And that's what would be the better way to start.
Nice. And then it looks like maybe there's another question for me about merit scholarships. And it looks like maybe Allie answered that in the chat. So yeah, to qualify for merit scholarships for incoming freshmen, so first year beginning students, no SAT is required. We just are looking at your high school grades and then also your English proficiency for the International Student Merit Scholarships. But even for the honors college scholarships or department scholarships, I believe those are all SAT optional. So you don't have to submit SAT scores. You can, but it's not going to hurt you if you don't have them. You don't have to submit them. So that is a great question. And I just want to circle back to one thing really quickly here before we close out our webinar for the day. And that is just, as I talk to students around the world about what opportunities there are out there for them in terms of areas of study, career paths. We talk so much about what major you're interested in or what exact career or job you can get and what's your salary going to be, what's the scope of this certain field or this degree. But I really liked the slide where you talked about competencies. And I think it was, I had like a little bit of a light bulb moment where I was like, we talk to students a lot about how, it's really difficult to prepare for jobs that don't exist yet, which is probably what most high school students are going to have to do. They're going to have to study and prepare for a career that probably hasn't been invented yet. And how do they do that? How do you set yourself up on a path to success where you don't even really know where you're going to end up? And I think the competencies that you talked about, are the things that we tell students that are the soft skills that they need to make sure they're developing throughout whatever they study at the university. They need problem solving skills. They need critical thinking skills. They need research skills, communication skills, team collaboration skills, all those kinds of things. And I thought it was really fascinating how you kind of talked about how when you study AI, not only do you need those skills, but you're also you're kind of having to teach AI how to do those things, right? The goal is to teach AI that can do some problem solving. But if you don't have good problem solving skills yourself, it's probably it's going to be almost impossible for you to take and translate that and figure out how can we teach AI to do some of these more what we consider to be things that are human intelligence and thinking kinds of skills. So it was a really interesting kind of intersection of those two things for me. And I think just another argument for the importance of focusing on developing those, not just the technical skills, but those other what we consider soft skills. But AI, I think, is a great example of how really those are technical skills. Right? The soft skills are becoming technical skills in this world of AI,
Oh,
which
absolutely.
is super fascinating to me. So I just wanted to kind of close on that and thank you for your presentation. It was really great.
Well, thank you for inviting me. That was fun, actually, in an early Saturday morning. But again, the soft skill, like you said, that's very interesting, very important. Actually, I call them human intelligence skills, and that's from problem solving all the way to what I basically some people referring to as prompt engineering, because as you know, okay, you can only use AI and get an AI such as a GPT, including Chat GPT or any of the other GPTs that are out there, to do something only if you know exactly how to specify. And this is like there's some wordsmithing involved in there, but there's design that's involved in there. There's problem solving, critical thinking. All these are involved in prompt engineering or intelligent prompting, what I prefer to call it.
Very cool stuff. Given me a lot to think about on this Saturday morning. Hopefully, we've given the attendees some good food for thought as well. So we'll go ahead and end our webinar here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you, Dr. Fawzi, for your presentation. All of the attendees, like I said, keep an eye on your email. We will follow up and send you a certificate. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, to my office. Feel free to reach out to Dr. Fawzi. Reach out to the Luddy School with any questions that you have for us after the fact. We look forward to hearing from you in the future. And thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us today. Everybody have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.